Chaplain Todd Daniels. This is my wife Amanda. This is your Monday Marriage Minute, and I think we're going to do something a little bit different today. We were just celebrated our 17 years of being married back on December 27th, and which really puts it at how many years together? It's 22. So we started dating on the same day that we got married, or I guess vice versa. We got married on the same day that we started dating. So we've kind of looked back at some questions that we had, some questions that married people have asked each other, and we picked out a few of them and wanted to answer those questions for you, and think that even this would be something good for you to take back to your spouse and be able to share as well. Not just our answers, but the questions that you could ask each other and try to find out what your answers are, because I'm sure they're different than our answers. So we'll just jump right in. What were your goals for your marriage when you were engaged?
All right, so first off, I was a baby when we got engaged. Well, I was 19 during our engagement and when we got married. So my goals and dreams then were, I won't say like immature. I mean, we were mature enough, to get married and stuff.
Right.
But so basically all I was thinking about or had in mind for us was I wanted to be a wife. You were going to be a youth pastor, so
Yep.
I wanted to be a spiritual leader to those teenage girls that were going to be entrusted to us in our youth ministry. And then kids were in our future, so mom, wife, youth pastor's wife, mom.
Yeah, so I mean, I think
that's what I was seeing then.
I have similar goals, and I think we talked about some goals that we had. I mean, I was studying to be a pastor, so working in a church was something that we had definitely saw in our future as a goal. We wanted to be, the best husband and wife for each other, and then definitely kids were something that we talked about and dreamed about and prayed about, but we just didn't know what that was going to look like in the future. So I think one goal that we did have, if it comes out of our marriage vows, was that we were in this forever. So the divorce wasn't an option. So that was one of the goals that I think really shaped our relationship, because we never started off saying that if things go sour, there's a way out, because there's no way out. We wanted to be in
I will say one goal too, dream we've always had is, we had like husband, wife, parents, but I think we've always wanted to, we look forward to retirement also.
Yeah.
So we have like that goal.
and dreams of
Yeah.
the future.
Right.
Yeah. So the second question is, describe how you and your spouse arrive at decisions.
You want me to take that one?
Yeah, take it, and I'll follow up. Unless you want me to take it. Looks like we're having a problem here answering the question.
Well, one decision that our family always struggles to make is where are we going to eat?
Yeah.
So we were talking about that earlier, talked about it yesterday.
6 people, so they all have different flavor palettes in their mouth and
Thoughts and food
opinions,
allergies.
yeah, all kind of stuff.
So that's a fun decision.
That's a big
But
decision.
okay, seriously. Most things we talk about,
Yeah.
not most things, all things, like we'll talk about, unless it's like an obvious decision for me to make or you to make. But I think we're pretty traditional in our roles, in marriage and beliefs. So most of the time, the default goes to you for the ultimate decision for big things, financially.
And that's after we've prayed about it,
thought about it, prayed about it individually, and then
came
come
together, like write down the pros and cons of those. So like big life decisions, and then
I go to the grocery store, I decide like where we're gonna eat, and like I make like those purchases, but we kind of have like a set amount. If it's gonna be above this, let's kind of talk about it first.
for financial things, but
Yeah.
as you default to me for maybe major life changes in our family, I really default to her as the day-to-day operations of our house, as far as like what you're saying with the meals, but also parenting our kids. I'm going to work, and maybe it's a mission or a deployment, that a training exercise that I'm gone, and I don't think we have to talk about daily decisions, because I trust her to make those decisions. So and just like you trust me with making a big life
There's
decision.
some things we can't talk about while you're
Right.
gone, so I'll just have to fill you in.
Yes. So as far as coming to making decisions, I mean, it's really something that we both think about, pray about, but then come together and have a solution for those. So let's see.
I don't think there's any decision that the other doesn't know about
Right.
within an appropriate time frame.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely don't leave out information for each other. So the next question is, why do you think you have struggled as a couple? Well, this is hard because now you have to admit that you have a struggle or have struggled in the past. And I think our relationship has seen some struggles. And every time that there's a struggle, an argument, a disagreement, it really comes down to selfishness. I think it's really what it comes down to. Maybe I'm thinking about my own needs and desires, and or you're thinking about yours, and when we do that, it kind of puts us on a different course.
Right. Selfishness, I was going to say, like our sin nature.
Yeah.
There's some sort of something consuming your life. Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's a quote that I hear or see often. What consumes you will control you.
Exactly.
So if there's something taking over my life, then it's going to control the way I think, act, talk.
Right.
And that can cause a struggle and strain in our relationship and our family dynamic.
And I think too, because if you're talking about a struggle that you have, and it might cause a break in our relationship, another problem with that is if I'm not supporting you the way that you need at that moment, could also make the struggle worse. So, like if I'm going through something and you just ignore it and not support me, then that kind of makes that struggle worse. So we've struggled, I think, with a lot of things, but I think one of the things that it goes back to that first question is that we're staying together. So whatever struggles we go through is not going to separate us, and we know that, and so we're going to overcome the struggles with whatever support that we need, if it's within each other or seeking outside help from maybe a counselor or another married couple.
So say first, like, talk about it with each other. If you're struggling and your spouse doesn't know it, like, communicate that respectfully.
Yeah. Right. No, that's good. This leads us to the next question. What do you think you need to do as a couple to get from where you are to where you need to be? You want to take that one first?
Sure. So, if we're talking as a couple, then we need to work through those struggles and like your individual problems is kind of what causes your couple struggle problems. So to work on yourself, I want to be like over spiritual, become more holy,
Right.
so that sin nature isn't what's controlling me, but the Holy Spirit is controlling me. And so in that, I'll be more loving and gentle and patient and kind. And so that will take us where we want to be instead of holding us back.
What you're saying is, on the journey, we know where we're going, and if we work on those issues and stay on the path and not go off the path, then it helps us to get to the place we want to be.
Right.
So that's self-reflection, but then also coming together as a couple and saying, look, where do we want to be? And what are the steps to get to that place? I mean, you talked about retirement earlier, and you can't just talk about retirement without making plans. So are we investing money for the future so that we can retire? Are we making steps now, or are we doing things to raise our kids
If they were raising our
in such
kids
a way
so that they can be independent.
and move out? So there's a lot of daily things that go into where you want to be, and so you can't just dream without action. And I think that's what you're trying to say is, if you want to get somewhere, you got to have action on a daily basis. I mean, we all know in the Army, to be able to complete the mission, there's some tasks that need to be completed before you get to the fight. And I think that's exactly what you do as a married couple as well. So the next question we have is, describe how your marriage has changed over the years. And I think we've kind of talked about a little bit. I mean, we had some goals back early on when we were engaged, first got married, of what our marriage would look like, and family, kids was part of it, ministry was part of it. And now 17 years later, we find ourselves in the Army with 4 kids.
So, I mean, basically it's the same, ministry and
Right.
kids, but what those pieces of the puzzle look like is
Are different. Yeah, I don't think we ever even thought or mentioned adoption or foster care as part of our family dynamic, but
Here we are.
now it is. The military was never part
No.
of our dynamic. I mean, we just thought we would be in a church setting. So I think what happens is that God allows us to see pieces of the puzzle, like you were saying, and then as we get older, get more experienced, He opens up the picture a little bit more so that we can see that. So just like in our future, I mean, 20 years down the road, we have dreams and thoughts, but we don't know exactly how that's going to play out. But at least we have a plan to work towards.
Right. And then not only like things about our dynamic has changed, like the kids and
Right.
vocation, stuff like that, but I mean, like we said in the beginning, we were young when
Yeah.
we were married, so
Right.
we individually have changed,
Yeah.
spiritually,
Hair,
educationally,
white hair, you
yeah,
know.
physically,
Right.
like lots of individual changes that we've had to work through ourselves, and it has changed our relationship, the way we interact, communicate,
Right. process.
process.
Now I will say though that, I mean, you look great as a 19-year-old, but even better now as a 37-year-old. So those changes, some changes are positive. Hopefully all changes are positive, and those are the things that you're focused on, are the positive changes that your relationships are making, so that you can be able to, finish out the rest of the, if it's 17 more years, 20 more years, 50 more years of marriage that you have left in this lifetime. So this is just part 1. We've got more questions to go through. So next week we'll be looking at part 2. Hopefully you'll tune in for that. I'm Chaplain Todd Daniel. This is my wife Amanda. It's your Monday Marriage Minute.